Thank you guys so much for being here. It's an honor to share the stage with you tonight, Tim, to be able to launch the Chroma, and we're going to dive into this in just a couple moments here.
Thank you, dude.
Yes, sir.
You have like the OG bag sticker.
I got the OG Bags hat in my car, and I was about to go run and get it.
Dude, I need to do another run.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Somebody posted the shirt the other day, and I was like, I don't even have one anymore.
You dropped those at Big Sexy, which, for those of you guys who don't know about the Connect community, we started off right down the street at a brewery called Big Sexy. And as you know, this District 6 green zone here in Sacramento is home to many awesome cultivators, and we commonly run into each other. Like I ran into you for the first time here at Indoor Sun, Tim, during COVID. And
yeah, when they were over there.
yeah, exactly. Right down the street on the corner. So
That's right.
there's over 2.5 million square feet of indoor canopy here in Sacramento in District 6 alone. So the amount of wealth of knowledge, the amount of mind share, it's pretty amazing to see what we've been able to come and develop around as a community here specifically. And especially when you start looking at innovative solutions like under canopy lighting, like the different spectrums, like all the different nutrients, all the different things that we're doing to increase plant health and immunity. That's what we're about. We're here to level up together. And being able to challenge each other respectfully is something that I'm honestly super amazed by, because the amount of camaraderie that happens out of here in Sacramento is something special, unique to this market. We aim to bring this all around the world. And we're doing that by helping you guys get to the next stage, doing a live Q&A. We don't just want to be a bunch of talking heads up here. We're here to engage with you. We're here to ask have a Q&A, and that's part of what tonight's about. Why don't we go ahead and start off with some introductions, starting with Tim.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, we did start off at Big Sexy Brewery. It's like 4 years, 5 years? Yep. It was 2021.
Yep.
Yeah, still middle of COVID type stuff. All right, guys. First off, thank you guys so much. We're absolutely so lucky to be here in Sacramento and have support like this. I talked to a couple of people who flew in for this. Sir, thank you. Really, really happy to have everybody here. It's been, it's a tough time in the industry. Faven is going through a lot of changes right now with a product launch, bringing on a lot of R&D. We're going through a ton of changes. It's been a heavy month. Super heavy. It's been a heavy month. We're tired. Like 2 hours ago, I was like, oh my God, I have to go on stage and put this together. And then I got here and I was like, oh, this is easy. Like everybody's got so much energy. So thank you guys for showing up. We're so lucky to be here in Sacramento. Like this is like,
Round of applause, please.
this is so unique.
Everyone. Yeah.
This is so unique. Like nobody has this. No. Michigan gets close, but nobody has this. So thank you guys. So yeah, I'm Tim. I'm the founder of Faven, co-founder of Faven. I've been cultivating for 15 years now. I started at Alien Labs and connected on the legal scene. Before that, I was, in the 215 days, doing a lot of outdoor and light dep. And then a couple years ago, under Canopy testing, came onto the scene, I think it was 2020, and ever since then I've been kind of pulling that thread. So I happened on Alex 4 years ago, 5 years ago, four-ish. Yeah. So anyway, this is Alex Gray.
How's it going? I'm Alex. I do R&D for Faven and director of technical support. Do a whole bunch of different things, mostly just grow weed though.
Yeah. We call him our friendly advice wizard. So don't hit him up for pricing. He doesn't know it, but he'll show you how to use your chromas and your Favens to the best of their ability. So, really lucky to have him. He's a little young, for being a cultivator and in charge of so much, but, he's an impressive dude. So we're happy to have him on the team. And, why are we here tonight? Chroma has been in talks for pretty much since we started Faven. Faven started selling lights about 2 years ago. And, the next iteration was pretty much on the table as soon as we launched the base models and how to get there and what the next iteration looks like. And Chroma became that. And kind of the backstory of this is Chroma is actually our 3.0 model. And what we mean by that is our base models, we refer to the 1.0s, and Chroma is one step or two steps further as a 3.0. We skipped the 2.0. And the reason that happened was because our testing window for the two models started to get too close. And we were like, well, we'd rather have one really great SKU than, 3 SKUs, our base model, a 2.0 and a 3.0. Like, let's just skip to the 3.0. And our testing window for the 2.0s and 3.0s was so tight that we were like, well, dude, like, we have to go 3.0. So we're very happy to bring this to you. It's taken a long time to get here. The rollout has been longer than we anticipated, and we put in extra buffer time. Like, we're cultivators. We know things are going to take even longer than we think, and it's still gone longer than that. So we appreciate the patience, but we're really excited to get into this. All the testing for these units were done here in Sacramento with our partnership growers. We're very, very lucky to have them. And honestly, without them, we wouldn't have discovered the things that we're starting to discover. So we're very, very fortunate, again, to be here in Sac and surrounded by so many great cultivators and so many great thought leaders in the space. You want to do this one?
Sure. So talking about what's different between the 1.0s and the 3.0s, the original base models and the chromas. The original 2.0s that we started with were going to be adjustable from R4 to R9. Some people that were in the middle of transitioning their rooms from HPS now over to LED or trying mixed spectrum really wanted to find out what would work best for their rooms. So we had a model that we were kind of working on to be able to have the flexibility of whatever you wanted. You could tailor strains specifically for that lighting schedule, whatever it is that you need. And then the 3.0 came in, and that had its own independent far red channel. So a lot of people were playing with far red in their top lights and wanting to integrate them into their facilities. The difficulty is replacing your top lights is a lot more difficult than retrofitting and adding under canopies to your already existing rooms. So we wanted to give the tools to the cultivators to be able to play with it in their own ways, figure out what works for them, and figure out if they could potentially cut down flowering time or quality increases or even color, because this is such a demanding market.
Yeah, and we've got R4 to R9, so 40% red to 90% red. That's a 120 watt channel, and we can hold 120 watts at any point during the 40% and 90%, which is very unique to Faven. We are not dimming diodes, we are switching power between diodes, which means we have almost double the amount of diodes as our 1.0 model. On top of that, we have 15 watts of independent far red. And independent far red is exactly what it sounds. It is a channel that can operate independently, and you can control it by itself, triggering, far red effects, which we will get into here in a little bit. But we're starting to find out that having far red independent of any other spectrum is really where the keys lay. And again, we're going to get into that, but that's why the 3.0 is different from the 2.0. We saw the need for the independent far red spectrum, and we didn't even want to put out the 2.0. So with the versatility of this product, it becomes extremely timeless. We're in a time where cultivation techniques and methods change every 8 to 10 months. And, when that happens, you kind of look at this gear that you just bought, and now it's, kind of outdated, or it doesn't fit the mold of what you're trying to do. The Chroma is here to really be that one piece of equipment that can mature with your cultivation practices. Yeah.
I like to refer to that as an evergreen product.
Yeah, evergreen.
It's timeless.
Yeah, timeless. So we're really, really happy to have a product that we know can, change with dude, I change my irrigation strategy every 8 to 10 months, or our goals, and candies haven't left. I wish they left, but how we steer the candies and what we're doing with the candies may change. So anyway, having a product that can fit whatever trend comes along is very important, especially in a time where margins are increasingly getting more thin.
Especially for people that are doing things like extracts as well as flower, it's very easy to have one model throughout your entire facility. You're not having to make sure that you're not mixing up different lights or doing anything. You can keep your rooms the same every single time, move stuff around, no problems, and be able to have that R4 if you want it, or that 60% red to keep for the hash side, and then doing the 90% red for your finished flower product.
Yeah, so being able to control the finished product with the spectrum you're using is just a huge bonus with the Chroma. So that's what makes it different, right? We've got spectrum control, we've got an independent far red channel. So what's the same? Our goal was to change our product enough to make sure it had enough value add that it made sense for cultivators who are operating within a certain margin. But we didn't want to change the pieces of the product that made it such an industry standard. So we didn't change the form factor. This is the chroma right here, as you guys can see. We didn't change the form factor or the dimensions. It's the same length. It's the same, not the same weight. I can't say that. It's got an extra driver in it. But it's everything else standardized. It's got the same amperage draw. It's got the same daisy chain capabilities as the base models. It also has same installation and breakdown process. So we haven't changed anything that really made it, the standard of under Canopy. We've just added the most valuable pieces that we thought the cultivators needed and nothing that they don't. We're not trying to put out pieces that just have a bunch of bells and whistles. We're trying to put out pieces that actually work for cultivators and put the ball back in the cultivators, court. Last thing I'll say, and then I'll turn it over to you. This will qualify for rebates if you're operating outside of SMUD. There's no SMUD rebates, I'm sorry. PG&E, SGE, Desert, Michigan, all that.
SoCal Edison, yeah, Michigan, Oklahoma.
Yeah, PG&E actually has really good rebates. I was not aware. But yeah, so it will qualify for rebates as well. So if you're operating within one of those, electrical company territories, please hit us up. We've got reps that handle this in-house. Don't pay a rebate company. They're sharky.
Yeah, and it was important to keep everything simple too. Like when you set up the lights and you're trying to do spectrum adjustability, or it's very easy to get complicated where you're having to go into your controller and mess with all of the different color spectrums. You're having to play with every single different thing. So keeping it as simple as possible for the cultivator was our ultimate goal.
Yeah, because we also grow weed, and we know that you really don't have time to go in and fix 18 different set points. You just don't. And while we think the control is great, the path of getting to all that control and the time and the mental capacity it takes is just something that most cultivators don't have, unfortunately. So yeah, that's what's the same. It's going to look exactly the same, but it's going to operate completely differently. And then if you come up here, you can see the diode density here is, it's pretty insane. Okay, so we want to drop a little, kind of back up and do a little vocabulary, because there's spectrum tuning and then there's spectrum control. And spectrum tuning is being able to control every individual wavelength on the spectrum. It's a tedious process, and it's very easy to make the wrong mistake and trigger the wrong plant cue within your plants. Spectrum control is what the chroma has. It's what we're kind of defining as safe light steering. So you're given these parameters of R4 to R9, and you can't really mess anything up between those. So you can have all the control you want without the difficulty of spectrum tuning, full control, and you get all the benefits of it. So it's as much control as we know we have time for in a typical cultivation, 8-hour day, 10, 12-hour day. It's all the control that you need and nothing more. And like Alex was just saying, it's really easy to build in all the bells and whistles, but really what do the cultivators need? We need simple, but the best use of our time.
100%, especially if you're having employees do it and you're trying to FaceTime them or call them on the phone and be like, oh, make this setting, move this dot over here, do this. It's a lot easier to just be able to click up and down through the spectrums versus trying to play with the iPad.
Yeah, and our controllers are it's you're at 40% and you can look at it and be like, okay, I'm at 40% and you can tell. So it's a very easy to use product in that. And within that, I think this is another slide. Yes. So how should you use chroma? And this is something that we talk about at length because we have a hard time telling people how to grow their weed. Every facility is different, every grower is different, every genetic's different. Doesn't matter if you're running the same LCG cut, it's going to act different in a different room, in a different facility, different substrate, etc. So the biggest benefit to chroma and what you're trying to do is you're trying to cue and I'm not trying to cue. I don't want to say we're controlling the plants because I really don't like that narrative. We're trying to lean into what the plant is trying to do at that point in the flower process and help it along. So during bulk, it would be optimal for you to be more of a white light because we know white light, full spectrum pushes yield. We know that. And anything with a higher red content is going to push more quality, more anthocyan production, more purple. So that's kind of our quality, that's our ripening driver, if you will. So being able to control that inside of the flower period is really optimizing and bringing the best out of each plant. And so you're not only being able to drive the yield, but you're being able to really, really control that quality at the end, which I think we're all all know now that we cannot have yield without quality, especially in this market. There's, things are not being sold now. It's not, oh, I can sell it for a couple $100. Like, it is sitting and it's rotting, right? We're getting to that point now, right? We are complete market saturation. So being able to really finely tune and hit the cues that help the plant get to what it wants to achieve is the optimal place to be for, spectrum control. And then really gearing, and I'll let you take this because you're more the hash guy than I am, but really gearing your spectrum use toward your final product goal. Like, what are you growing for? Are you growing for finished flower? Or are you growing for hash? It's a completely different lighting strategy.
Completely different lighting strategy, but even playing with the reds early on potentially for bud set too. Like, it's giving the cultivator the tool to really figure out what works best for them and their genetics. Certain things prefer LED spectrums more. Certain things were bred under HPS and they're used to that. So being able to dial that specifically in for whatever environment that you are, say you are forced to have LED top lights and so you're adding some more reds down to the bottom, it's super important to be able to control that. And especially in a hash setting where you're just worried about trichome production and resin and being able to get that full development without taking it too far. So it's like really important to be in your rooms, checking everything the entire way. And it just makes more continuity throughout your entire plant and having that spectrum spread throughout your entire plant. So you could get an even product, especially on flower.
Yeah. And, most of us here if you're growing in Sacramento, you're probably growing 80% candies, if not more. And we know we need the most purple. We need everything to be uniform. It's unfortunate, but it's what we have to do. And instead of being incredibly stressful with your drybacks or your temperatures in your room, which can cause other issues to populate, you can use a lighting strategy, which is very definitive, and less of a guesswork. If you do this with your light, there is going to be a simultaneous plant response. So you can really drive that color with a higher red spectrum. And unfortunately, we can't do that from a top light scenario because we'll get bleaching. So under Canopy is just this whole other kind of world of bud set and bud development where we can get away with these higher red percentages without bleaching. And that leads us to, greater quality and greater purple production, because it's unfortunate we have to be there. All right. So that's how we're using Chroma. Okay, so we want to preface this. We're not saying any of this is law. We're not saying any of this is, as definitive as it gets. We are simply reporting what we have seen in the plants that we are trialing on. We want to be very clear about that. We're not claiming that this is absolute it and this will happen if you do this. We're just saying this is what we've done in our first couple trials. So we talked about our independent far red channel that we have within the Chroma unit. So this is the coolest thing we've done. I'm not gonna lie. This is the coolest thing since my initial under Canopy trials. Like the most possibly groundbreaking thing. And so we started out with a trial here in Sacramento. Shout out to Blueprint. They always let us go crazy in their rooms. They shouldn't, but we do. And we started out asking the question, what does far red do to the plant? And can you get the same plant response from an under canopy light using far red as a top light? Like, does it work from the bottom? And our first trial was exactly that. Sorry, I'm ringing. So our first trial was, can we trigger the plant response with under canopy far red? Our duration, so what we did, our methods were the Faven 3.0, half a bench on ADL, a candy strain if you guys are familiar with ADL. So half bench with 3.0 and half a bench with 2.0. So both have spectrum control, only the 3.0 had independent far red. So we did a half bench test, about as controlled as it gets. Same input, same room, same genetic, about as controlled as it can be. And we used far red in an HPS room. We used far red on the 3.0s for all 12 hours. The top lights are on. and then 15 minutes of far red after lights off. And what we found was we created very stretchy plants. And ADL is not typically a stretchy plant. We averaged another, was it 15% height?
Yeah.
It was an additional 3 to 4 inches on each plant compared to the plant without far red. So far red triggers stretching. We kind of knew that already, but we didn't know if we would get that response from an under canopy light. So we kind of were like, okay, check that box. We're going to get that response. So we got a taller plant, stretchier plant. What did that do? It diminished yield, right? So we got a reduction in yield of 11% on the side with far red. Okay. Another result that we saw was we had heard from Mitten Master, if you guys follow him in Mobile J, that calcium uptake when you use far red goes through the roof. And, that seemed, like, okay, that's easy to prove out. We just need to take leaf tissue samples. Lo and behold, we found that calcium and magnesium were being utilized 25 to 30% more in the far red trial. Even though it yielded less, the plant tissue at the end of flower had 25 to 30% less calcium. Interesting, right? What we did see on a qualitative side is way more color on the side with far red, way louder terps, and a more uniform bag of color all the way around. And those bags sold at a higher ticket. So while the yield was reduced, they still were able to capture some of that back in quality. And that was using far red in the independent channel for 12 hours on during the day and 15 minutes on at night in conjunction. The hardest thing about doing these trials is making sure we can take that data and interpret it back and try to make it super digestible, because we're also tweaks and doing like 18 different trials. So we're trying to make it as palatable as possible. Shout out to Alex, because he's really good at putting it in a digestible form. He just talks to AI, it writes it for him. He's totally cheating, but it works. Anyway, so that was trial number 1. That was done on ADL, a candy genetic that is so popular here in Sacramento. Do you grow it at Powerhouse?
We do.
Yeah. See, everybody does. Great candy genetic. Can't stand growing it, but great candy genetic.
Another notable thing was the stress on the plant, the visual stress on the plant. The far red side was much, much greener throughout the entire stems comparatively to the one without far red. And it was a gradual thing that we saw from the middle cutoff point at the table. It actually was almost like a perfect curve. Like the tallest plants eventually started to go down to the average ones without the far red.
Yep.
And those effects spread super far comparatively than not without under canopy at all, like to an empty zone. So it just shows how efficient that red actually is.
The farther you get on the wavelength spectrum, the more efficient the wavelength is. And so basically anything over a 700 nanometer on the wavelength is considered far red. And that can travel so far. And so it's really hard to control these studies, because no matter what, we've got a half bench of something. That breaking point, that far red from the 3.0 went 3 or 4 plants into the control, which, okay, doesn't make it a perfect control, but if we're still seeing a difference between 2.0 and 3.0, then there's definitely something with far red. So little skewed there, but the plant and stem health, like there was 0 stress. There was 0 purple stems. It was absolutely lime green plant. You can't really tell in these pictures here. If you go to our Instagram, it may still be up. We may have it archived because Instagram is watching us at all times. They tell us to take stuff down. But go to our YouTube and go to X. We try to post on there. They don't take us down as much. But you can see the side-by-side. I'm holding one in my hand, and the whole plant is just completely dark because you can see the stress on the branches. And then the other plant I'm holding in my other hand is bright green plant, but the buds are just dark purple. So it created this, this great contrast.
It almost looked like a completely different genetic.
Yes. And again, it had an 11% yield decrease on the 3.0 side, on the far red side. We are open about that. Okay. So that led us to trial number 2, which we will have the yield results back probably at noon tomorrow. I'm so sorry to not report yield numbers. I'm so sorry. It just did not happen. This is a plant. It is a Natural process. We could not control it. We trimmed it as fast as possible. It is what it is. But we have some really cool stuff to report. So with our second trial, okay, first trial, does under canopy far red trigger any plant response? Yes, we answered that question. Yes, it gave us more quality, but it gave us 11% decrease. Okay, so second trial, let's try to eliminate that yield decrease. All right, so that was our goal. What we did was we changed the duration of far red being on. So instead of it being on for 12 hours a day with the top lights and 15 minutes on after lights off, like our first trial, we only did 5 minutes on after lights off. So we went completely to the other side of the spectrum. We basically saw our first trial as an overdose. And now we were like, okay, what's the minimum we can give the plant without, or while still triggering a plant response? Okay, what's the minimum we can use? And we also added on that the under canopy only stayed at 40% red the entire time. So as little red as we could push in our under canopies the entire time, both 2.0 and 3.0. So we really controlled any kind of red variable there. Okay, we just pushed as much white light as we could. And then the 3.0, this is a half bench. Sorry, let me step back. It's a half bench, same thing. Gelinade on both sides, right? So Gelinade is a very widely cultivated. I was talking to some guys from Michigan earlier today. They grow it. Everybody grows Gelinade. It's a staple here in Sacramento. Connected bred it in 2019 or so. There you go. I grew so much of it that I now cannot be in the same room when it's harvested because I like it. It is just such a violent terp that it just destroys me. So I know this genetic really, really well. And we did a half bench with, half bench without, 5 minutes of far red after. And though we don't have any yield numbers for you, we have this, which hard to see from where you guys are. What we're going to do is we're going to leave this up. It's our last slide as well. So we're going to leave this up during Q&A. We're going to leave this up after the shows or after the talk so you guys can come up and look at it. But you've basically got without far red and with far red. And this is day 50. And what you guys probably can't see is the difference in color, structure, and just overall size. The side with far red, only 5 minutes on after lights off, is day 50 and it looks like it could be harvested. So this is not only giving us a sped up flower production, but it's also cutting off flower time, which we all know if you can shave a week off cultivation, that's another harvest you can get in per year. So under canopy is going to give you 20 to 30% of yield increase. On top of that, if you can cut off a week of production, you're adding another 20% of efficiency. You're going from 5.3 yields or harvests a year in your facility to 6.5, which is pretty much all to your bottom line. So while we're not saying, I kind of want to circle back to like what we started with. I'm not saying this is law. I'm not saying this is going to happen. But right now, everything is pointing to the fact that using far red independently of any other spectrum is triggering this plant response.
I would also like to note too, this is just the trials that we're doing. We have customers all over the place that are doing different trials of this, doing their own information. This is just what we're cultivating here in Sacramento. Yeah. So there's a bunch of information and stuff that we're adding to lead to the idea that far red might be the next play.
Yeah.
And there's been people that have played with it for a really long time. Yeah. And there's people that have sworn on it for a long time. And then people that say that it doesn't do much. And so we're really trying to test it ourselves and really give the grower the tool to be able to find out for themselves.
Yes, agreed. And that's something that we really don't like to tell people how to grow. We just like to provide the tools so you guys have the versatility to grow how you want to grow. And at the very minimum, we're seeing independent far red increase anthocyan production, purple, and we're seeing it deliver a healthier plant and a more robust bud right now. As for cutting off flower time, that's something that we are working on to prove out. We've only done it twice now. And again, we don't have yield numbers back for you. I'm so bummed. Because I really do think we eliminated the yield discrepancy from trial one. I really, really think it's gone just visually. And everybody else thinks so too. We just can't do it until the scissors are down and the bags are tied.
The height discrepancy wasn't nearly as much either. It was more similar to the same thing, maybe
That is true.
an inch or so more, but not really too much.
Yeah, so the height of the plants, whereas like the first trial we did, we overdosed them. We created very, very stretchy plants. This trial, they were very uniform. There was no like, the first trial, you could basically see it drop off to the side without far red. This trial was very much, a very gradual slope. So that's what we found in trial 2 so far. You guys have to take a look at this photo. I really wish I had some yield back to you, but I was talking to the cultivator today and they were like, it is no brainer that, even though we used 40% red on the lower canopy and in HPS room, the side with far red had such deeper color and such greater color that it's going to lead to less sorting at the end, less smalls at the end, less multicolored bags. Like it's going to be a very uniform colored bag, which is what every broker, middleman, customer is looking for right now. They want the uniform bags. They want it to all look the same. And that is incredibly hard to do as a cultivator who grows many, many different genetics, just like everybody in the room. So at the very minimum, that's what we have. We will be putting these yield results out as soon as we have them. Look for them on Twitter and YouTube and Instagram, but that's where we're at with it right now. I'm so sorry we don't have any yield results, but if you come up and look at this a little later, you're gonna, like, this is day 50. It's pretty obvious.
It's pretty obvious. The leaf to calyx ratio is way tighter. The buds are super chunkier. It's way darker.
Yeah.
And I'm actually curious, did you guys test the plants on the first trial to see if the terpenes increased?
No, we weren't able to get that done.
No worries.
I know.
I'm excited to see that because I believe
Terpenes
that
and cannabinoids are next, for sure.
I totally think what's happening there is that the plant is synthesizing everything down in that root zone and it's just getting way more available. I'm excited, man.
And the plant health is crazy. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. The Synganic cultivators are going to fucking thrive with this.
Yeah, I would agree. So kind of just like wrapping up what we've talked about today. It seems like a lot. That's not what we came up here to do. We're simply growers who now have the ability to test things and put out cool information as fast as we can. Alex is head of cultivation support. I jump on cultivation calls with grows all the time. Chroma is going to have a Chroma guide, growing with Chroma, that comes along with it to give you these parameters to stay within. These parameters are meant to make you successful and then for you to use within your facility and whittle that down to match your facility's needs and your genetics needs and your grower. Growers are all different. We're kind of all the same, but we're all very different. So if you know. We have a ton of support coming out with this. That's also why it's taken us a long time to get to market, because we want to make sure what we put in this guide is truthful and can actually help. What we don't want to do is release something and say, good luck, call us in 3 months. That's not it. So we want to make sure you have a ton of resources built into this and just be incredibly successful in your first run.
Yeah, we're here to walk you through the entire process. If you call, you'll probably get Dylan or I. And then if you get Dylan, he could totally just send you to me. I'm down to talk about cultivating, seeing what we're playing with, seeing what other facilities have done in their trials. Because there's people that are many years into the far red testing with top lights that we work with in a very close capacity. So we've seen tons of rooms come down using this, and we can share that information. I think, like Sergio, the whole point of the Connect is to bring people together and have conversations about growing. It's a difficult conversation, especially when you're buying, whether it's nutrients or products for your cultivation, where it's like, this is what you have to do every single time. It's not real because every room is so different. Yeah. You're in your same facility, you could have a perfect clone of a room right next to it, and it's not going to run exactly the same.
It's a different room. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know your room better than you do, but I could definitely help walk you through the process of figuring it out and just getting it dialed in for your specific facility.
The goal is to share our perspectives of what we have in our control.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of R&D as well. We get to break shit and we get to really push the boundaries. And that's why, working with Kevin Crouch at Powerhouse is super fun, because he likes to push the limits extremely hard. So,
AKA, again, he likes to tweak on things.
Yes. So, and he's pumping, man. So, it's cool to have the Chromas in here and really, now that we got this awesome controller set up with CC MS and, being able to really dive into this, we're hyped, man. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is a huge lift because we're trying to do this the right way. And I've never, like, when we dropped the R6 and the R8, we didn't like, okay, we're gonna launch it. We were just like, hey, we have under canopy lights. Yeah, if you want to try them, let us know. Like, it wasn't like, and like now 2 years in, which it's like, I can't believe it's already been 2 years, and I can't believe it's only been 2 years at the same capacity. We're just trying to make this launch and this product hit the ground and just absolutely, you know, this is the best light on the market by far. It's timeless. We're so proud of it, and I'm just really excited to get it in everybody's hands. And
By far,
yeah. Oh, yes.
coolest temperature-wise, yes.
Thank you. That's on DLC. These guys, 3 from Lingos out in Adelanto, absolutely do great work. Some of the cleanest double tiers you've ever seen in your life. Thanks for coming up, buddy. I appreciate you guys.
And
like ridiculous fullness
Yeah.
of the light.
Yeah.
the actual temperature coming off the
That
light.
took a long time to create a good heat sink inside this little thing. That was not easy. And we're almost we're well past 800 installs now. You know, we're 800 installs, so I guarantee I've probably dealt with a facility that looks like yours. You know, we've probably helped somebody who's in a similar situation to you. So give us a call. We'd love to help. We set up times all the time. Send you our HubSpot link. You can just book it, and we'll jump on with you and dive into it.
And in addition to that, if you guys actually want to see the lights, you're more than welcome to book a tour at Powerhouse.
Oh yeah,
We're right around the corner from here, and super proud to be able to be working with you guys and tweaking things as we go along.
oh yeah, it's gonna be so fun. Yeah, I gotta get you some 3.0s now.
It's time for 3.0.
Because you guys, Sergio's one of the people who have 2.0s, but he didn't know that we were changing it up for the actual Chroma drop, because those were named Chroma too, and then we were like, wait.
It's okay. We need to add more because we're going perpendicular. We're
Yeah.
adding those extra lights because the
Oh,
plant health
gosh,
is insane
perpendicular.
going perpendicular.
Perpendicular is a whole nother talk.
But I'm glad that we're here because we should bring it up. And that's what, everyone that I've talked to about the Chroma and the launch of the Chroma, it's more about going into perpendicular. Specifically because what we've seen on 2 out of the 5 zones in one of our rooms, it's evident that that's what we're going to do moving forward. And specifically because of the plant getting light on both sides, not just in the center plant getting light on both sides. Yes, we saw a yield increase, and yes, we saw plant maturation way higher up on that side. And again, the quality was just that much better. So
Agree. We can take Q&A. We're here to answer any and all questions. So you can either... What?
Hello.
Dude, not that question. Not that question.
Who's asking a question?
No.
Is it available?
Gosh. Okay. I can't give you a hard date, but I can tell you our controllers should be here. It's the units are ready. We are waiting for the UI on the controller to be good. And they should be here in the next couple weeks, and we'll drop. I guarantee it. Okay? I'm sorry. So what I didn't want to do is make controllers and stands and all this stuff. I just wanted to make cool lights. Thank you. I have a huge team. I actually don't do anything anymore. But no, I really appreciate that because it's all about the details, And Alex wouldn't let me drop this thing with a crappy controller, and I was like, "You're right."
Yeah. So
Is not hot enough.
Oh yeah,
Additional heat is never hot.
yeah. You can take an IR gun to this thing at the driver. I can't even remember off top, but diode, like if you look up DLC listing, you basically can see every under canopy light and like what, a third party tested it at. And we're 5 degrees Celsius, 10 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than everybody else. Just bottom line.
do you think we can turn the light on just for a sec to,
Oh, yeah.
to see this?
yeah. So
Mr. Dylan, if I can call you.
Dylan is our tech support. If you call, you're talking to Dylan. He's great. He has been working in facilities for like 6 or 7 years now. Jack of all trades.
while he's doing that, talking about the delay and why we don't have a very specific date is we wanted to make sure that the controller integrations were good. Like it's very easy to just release a bad controller that's potentially has flaws and everything. So we wanted to test it as much as we can.
Oh, yeah.
So we wanted to make sure that the controllers were done right, so it's simple for the cultivator to use without being too complicated, as well as tying into certain other existing controller companies, so you didn't have to change too much. A lot of tunable lights or adjustable lights you have to specifically use their controller, and that's the only thing that you could possibly do. So we wanted to give the cultivator the flexibility to just put it into their existing systems.
Yeah. Like I said, what I didn't want to do is design a controller and have a controller that only it was like a Faven controller, and you had to buy the Faven controller. That's not what we wanted to do. When you start to get more sophisticated lights, they have to run more sophisticated protocols. Once you have a sophisticated protocol, you have to run a controller that can handle that protocol. So it does have a Faven controller, but we are working with third party. There's the 40%. The first one was red. That was 90%. This is 40%. This is 100%. Can we knock this? This is 50? Okay. You can leave it there. Don't turn it up. That's good. I think it's getting the point across. Can you do the far red channel, please, sir? Okay. What's that? We actually don't. It's going to be not that expensive. We're not going to knock you over the head for a controller, dude. That's not going to. We actually don't know that landed. It's going to be, what's a typical grow flux? Like 250?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't handle any prices on anything.
I just the wrong guy.
I just grow weed.
So Growflux is who we like working with because they have like really solid waterproof units. Great little company out of Philadelphia. Just a bunch of lighting engineers that turned into controller manufacturers. And we contracted them because they're like, hey, we're going to have a new protocol. Can you make a controller for us? So I think their dimmers are 200 to 250, and then you need an access point similar to like if you run a Roya. You have like a brain or what it's gateway. Yeah, so you have a gateway similar. So each access point on a Growflux can run 100 dimmers. So we're gonna have Growflux dimmer. Or Growflux controller. We'll have a Faven controller. But those are your two best. And then we are integrating with GrowLink. So if you have a GrowLink system, you can just plug it in, and it'll actually start to work. It's not live yet, but by the launch, we're hoping to have the protocol live. So you can just plug it into your GrowLink, and it'll work right off the rip. They've been very helpful. Agritech as well, because GrowLink and Agritech are buddies. Finding that out.
I have a question. When I'm adding under Canopy, how much more dehue and cooling do you think I should be anticipating?
So it really depends in your room and what kind of setup you have is what we're understanding. Is that a typical, watt needs 3.4 BTUs of cooling in order to offset that watt. With an under canopy unit, its location in the underside of the canopy and how cool our lights run, we see that closer to half of that, like a 1.7 to 1.8 BTUs per watt. As for humidity, we're seeing a water increase of 10 to 15% water consumption. So if it's consuming that much more water, you can expect that much more water to be in your environment. So you're looking at 10 to 15% humidity increase. If you already have some extra capacity built into your rooms, there are many people here who haven't done a single thing to the rooms. And there are many people here who changed everything just to be able to handle chroma. So if you're at your limit, if it's middle of summer and you guys are like, yo, I'm at my limit, my room's already warm and I'm out of control, I would recommend putting in an HVAC before you do under canopy. It's not going to do you any good to have more light without environmental control. So we would recommend that. But if you have extra capacity built in, say you were an HPS facility and you already switched to LED or you went checkerboard, you're probably okay with how much capacity you already have built in. So my recommendation is always get a bench, test it, and then there's your far red channel. That's 15%. It doesn't look like much, but it lights up the entire room because this wavelength is so efficient. Just this little bit. That's all you need. This is 15 watts. And that's at 100%.
So that picture earlier where the plants looked all white, if you could go back to that, potentially.
Sergio's doing it for the gram. There, can you go back in that to the independent far red one? So hard to see, but those are, that's a 30-foot row right there lit up with just these guys. And our first trial question was, can the under canopy trigger the far red response? And then we turned it on and we were like, oh, well,
this
is
just what the camera picks up. The walls are completely red.
The whole room is lit up.
It's very spooky.
Yeah, it's actually kind of cool. Not gonna lie.
What other questions do we have from the audience? Yes, sir, right up here. We're going to hand you the microphone real quick.
How many lights can you put on one controller?
Oh, so the Grow Flux will have a capacity of 100 per dimmer, 100 lights per dimmer. The Faven controller will be around the same and maybe closer to 150. We'll have to double check that. We just need to take measurements when they land, which will be literally in a couple days.
I think the Grow Link's going to be about 100.
Yeah,
too.
Grow Link's going to be 100.
Yeah.
So usually 100 for under canopies, pretty standard. What's cool about the Grow Flux is that every access point can handle 100 dimmers. So you can have like 10,000 lights on a single access point. You just need a dimmer for every 100. So usually you've got 1 to 200 under canopies in a room typically. So you've got 1 or 2 dimmers.
And then it boosts signal off of each other as well.
Just
so
like
they're just like repeaters built into them. So you could span your entire facility and have that good signal all the way through.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right over here.
I run the Favens, and then also, I think it's important to be able to dial the intensity of the Favens with your top light. And honestly, I've realized that I've actually saved power because my top lights I've dimmed down in a certain point of flower period because of the under canopy.
Yeah.
Also, the under canopy creates heat next to the cubes, which makes my dry back faster.
Yeah.
So yes, the under canopies affect the grow 100%, but I think that if you can dial in the intensity of your under canopy with your upper canopy and really in your own facility dial that in, I think that's everything. And I think that sometimes in week 6, we're boosting those 100%. And that's what's going to give you the color at the bottom of your canopy.
Correct. So uniformity of light is winning out over intensity of light, right? And so we're seeing,
So that
yeah,
canopy needs to be not dark, but beautiful.
yeah, exactly. And so we have people who dim down their top lights in order to run their under canopies, and they're still seeing a yield gain.
Better quality.
Yes, yeah, quality all the way through. There's actually a lot of people who are on electric constraints in LA, like downtown LA, and like they can't even plug in like another fan or they blow a circuit. And they're taking down top lights to put in Favens because they've seen such a yield increase from uniformity of light over intensity.
And the bottom is forming better as the top nut.
Yeah. It's all uniform. Yeah. Yeah. And these guys, like I know I said it before, but like these guys are up there with grams per watt. These guys are, I won't talk any of their numbers or anything like that. That's not what I'm here for, but the name of the game is efficiency and getting the most out of each watt that you're using in your room. And these guys over here, they've got 645s up top.
You don't need to run those 100% the whole time. You can actually utilize this light that is super cool. I've had 4 lights under canopy and they're all run hot or flat or your bees fall on top of it. But this structure and this coolant on this light is everything. That means less AC power, less everything.
A good thing to note about their facility too is it's a very, very clean double stack.
It's a double tier, yeah.
And they ran the 4 major lights kind of.
Yeah, they ran everybody.
all side by side.
Yeah.
And multiple times too. So
Yeah, we appreciate you guys coming out, dude. Yeah, you're one of our favorites to visit, man. Your facility's awesome. They got some killer OG too, like real deal OG. Like, yeah.
What other questions do we have?
Anything else? You can also catch me after if you don't want to talk right now. I will be all night.
Going back to increasing, right? So we know that we had to increase our cooling and dehumidification
Yes.
capacity. What about EC?
So food, super variable. I have a hard time with this one.
I feel like there's 2 main questions. One is how hard do you push your genetics? 2 is what substrate are you in? I feel like certain cultivators, and just by their method of just cultivation, some will say, hey, we have to increase our food with every injection. Other people are controlling it through the actual pot EC, pushing out more runoff, stacking more EC. So it really depends on how you play with it. So it's something to figure out for your own facility. I can't definitively sit here and tell you, oh, you have to increase food or you don't have to increase food. It really comes down to your cultivation style.
That's such a Alex response. He's such an Alex response. He's like, I'm not going to tell you how to grow. If you do document a deficiency, just make sure it is not a water restriction deficiency. It's not a deficiency based on you not irrigating enough. If you do document a nutrient deficiency, I would increase your EC 10%. I think that's a very gentle way to make sure that you're not causing any damage to your plants, but also a lot of the stress that we see either is increasing intensity on the lights too much, too quickly, or they're not controlling their drybacks and managing that extra water input they need. So it's actually water stress and not nutrient stress.
Yeah, and certain genetics show that, hey, they're more thirsty without necessarily being more hungry, like wanting more EC, and other ones are more hungry without being more thirsty. So it's really, really specific to what you have going on. We have a lot of experience with different customers running different genetics. So we're here to help to be able to find that out.
Different top lights too.
Yeah.
Anthony, do you have a microphone? One second, bud.
Please step over here.
Well, in certain genetics too, you'll see on the leaves, they'll get darker. If that 10% is too much, it's still
Step away from
a very subtle amount. You can just
So
reduce
what,
the input.
when it come to the under canopies, it was interesting because our dryback was faster because of the heat load, but also those under leaves grew more. The under nugs grew more. It wasn't like if you didn't have the under canopies, you'd be used to this much growth underneath. But because of the under canopies, you have way more growth. I mean, that's on top of you're going to strip more, you're going to de-leaf more,
Yeah.
on top of that.
Way more labor.
Yeah, but you have to get used to that. You really have to, when you incorporate these under canopy lights, you have to treat your grow room differently.
100%.
100%, you know, and you have to dial it in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and every grow's different. We still got guys that are still de-leafing and are under clearing too, and that so it's like.
What I wanted to say was, if you have a grow and you thinking about incorporating Faven into your grow, do this. Do exactly what you're doing and then incorporate the grow. Don't strip different, don't do anything different, and then let the light show how much more production you have.
Yeah.
Don't go like, I'm gonna leave more sites, I'm gonna leave more of this. You're gonna create more C's and B's, and you might get a little bit more weight, but in my experience is create your pay line and really do exactly what you're doing, and then create the light, and then let that exactly reflect on how much more this light's giving you, rather than, it's not about more nugs. It's about making that light make your nugs and your bottom nugs fatter.
Yeah.
It's not about making more nugs.
And I agree. I think especially if you're doing your first run with under canopy, like don't change too much. Don't
Don't
Yeah.
push too far from your baseline.
Yeah, baseline's important. Any change you make.
Yeah. It's like adding any new piece of equipment. You don't want to just change your entire cultivation style to tailor to it.
Yeah.
Just help it do what you're doing well better.
Yeah. Agreed.
About the distance between the light and the tree, what do you recommendation the distance?
So I would start with your overall plant height. Basically, we want to see a mix of top and bottom light in the center of your plant. So my ideal height of a plant is about 4 to 4.5 feet. So I like the minimum level you should keep your under canopy is the base. Here, let me just visualize this. So this being the base at the top of the substrate. So you don't want your light below your substrate because it's just going to waste light, blast your substrate, your rock wool, your cocoa. It's going to heat it up. So the lowest setting would be at, this base at the top of the substrate. Now, if you're growing plants taller than 4 or 5 feet, you may want to raise it up a little higher. But you're going for a canopy depth, which is, measurement from the top bud all the way to the last bud of about 4 to 4.5 feet. So the height of the light changes based on how big your plants are. So that's why it's hard to tell you should put it at 10 inches. But you can get a bud within a ½ inch of this light without it burning. If it lays on the light, it's going to burn just from it being too hot, but it's not going to bleach. So you can get it as close as humanly possible without touching, and it will not hurt the bud. So you can keep it as close as possible.
And I'll give my kind of answer to this as well. Is it's super genetic dependent. If you're growing something like sherb that's getting nugs all the way down to the bottom of your substrate, you could have that a little bit lower. If you're growing something that's more like LCG and really branchy towards the bottom, clear up a little bit more and have that light higher in your canopy so it has the greatest effect on your plants. I think a good thing to do is, honestly, when your plants are about the height that you want them to be, turn off your top lights, leave your under canopy on, and go in the room and see where that V of the light spreads out.
Yeah.
We have a diffuse lens on there, so it throws that light evenly throughout your canopy. So it's very, very visual when you go in there and you could see, okay, my light is shining up to this point on my plant. Anything else, we'll try to match that with the top light and hit it. So it gets this perfect melding point right in the middle.
Yeah. So yeah, if you go in, turn your top lights off, take some cool videos because it is very cool. Post it on Instagram and tag us. But that's where you really realize how high that light is penetrating into your canopy. Just turn your top lights off, spend some time in there, take some measurements with the light meter and see where it is optimally. But yeah, if you're growing candies, I like to limb them up a little bit and set your lights higher just because they don't populate a ton of nugs on the bottom. But as soon as you get about, a third of the way up the plant, a lot of nugs start to populate and you can really gain a ton of yield back there. Is that good? Thank you. Good question. I skip over a lot of that stuff because we're like so into this testing, but like the basics of under canopy is something that is very, very important. It's like the basics of cultivation. You have to keep going back to it and really like making sure your basics are nailed. If you nail your canopy depth, you're going to be very happy.
It's great that we're touching on the basics because as there's new innovations coming out, there's going to be cheaper lights out on the market. And how do these lights actually perform next to something that is more innovative with the times and what we're demanding as cultivators to focus on quality and yield? So
yeah, and we're going to be really aggressive in our pricing. I'm just going to tell you right now, we're not going to come in at a $200 price point for this thing. Like you're a commercial cultivator, we're going to be extremely aggressive. We're here to provide really good tools to the cultivators. We're not here to sit here on a high horse.
Well, and we also test everything too. So in comparison to a lot of other lights, they're not necessarily growers. Like everything's built the way it is for a specific reason. So there might be some things where it's like, hey, why did you guys do it this way? Well, we did it this way because of X, Y, or Z. So we're happy to talk about any of those reasons why it's designed the way it is, but we're using it in cultivation settings. Like we're dragging hoses across it. We understand that things are going to happen in your grow that you're going to have to make adjustments to. So it's built to withstand that.
Yep, agreed.
we're spraying 90 plus gallons a week on these things and they're loving it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're IP66 and really like we could go for IP67 if we wanted to. We just don't. It's not worth it. But anyway, any other questions? Cool. Good.
Sweet.
right.
I do want to make a quick announcement that there are some dope ass Faven Chroma shirts in the back. So if you guys want to grab one of those, thank you for being here in the panel discussion area. These have been great questions. And go ahead, Tim.
That is Carissa and Katie back there. You let them know your size. They will be super, super fast. They have them all sorted and totally put together. I'm just playing. Be nice. But for real, go grab some Chroma tees. We just dropped them specifically for this event. Go grab them. We have a ton of sizes back there. So go grab them, guys. Appreciate your time.
Big round of applause for Alex and Tim from Faven. Thank you all.